Which careers do you think are at risk with all this coming up? All of them. All of them. I think there's first order effects. There are certain careers. Let's pull up Carpathy's research on this. So this, based on US data, and it's a visualization of which jobs are most at risk from artificial intelligence. Now, I think there's a couple of ways to get into this discussion. First up, there are jobs that are immediately at risk, if not already defunct. It's basically waiting for them to die. A good example is something like a translator. I'm sorry, any translators who are watching. The majority of the market for translating and interpreting will be replaced. Yes, there will be jobs for people who are very good at it, people who are at the top. If you are an interpreter at the UN doing simultaneous translation, you are absolutely fine. I'm talking about the 80-90% of the industry that will just get absolutely creamed. Let me see if I can find translator. Now, this isn't searchable, which is always very annoying. So they're the first ones. Roles and tasks that can be done pretty much wholesale by artificial intelligence. They're donezo. The second level is a bit more subtle. Every single job is a package of different tasks. So when you are an accountant, for example, if you are an accountant, some of the work you do, let's say 60% of the work you do is the actual accountancy, knowledge of accounting laws and rules and regulations, helping to put together financial returns. I'm not an accountant, so I can't talk to this too much, but there will be other tasks. There's going to be admin, there's going to be marketing, depending on if you're in your own company, there's going to be operational, there's going to be client communications, etc. There are going to be other areas of your task that are outside of your primary role. So whether you are a social worker, a psychologist, a coach, an accountant, a post-secondary teacher, hard labor, anything, any job is a bundle of different tasks. Now, AI may not affect your primary task, which could be teaching children, sitting in front of children. It could be the accounting work of being an accountant. It may not touch that primary task, but it will touch other tasks around your particular role. When that happens, we basically get into a position where we don't need as many. We don't need as many accountants. We don't need as many psychologists. We don't need as many industrial machinery mechanics, machinery maintenance workers, and millwrights, for example, because one individual, one human, can suddenly do the task of many individuals. They can suddenly do 5 times the amount of work, 10 times the amount of work. Now, the pushback on that will be that, well, the companies will just grow. We'll just have more productivity. We'll keep the same headcount, or we'll even increase headcount. These people will be able to do 10 times as much, 5 times as much, whatever it is. That only works if the economy is in a good place. And if demand for whatever it is you're producing, whether it's insurance sales, whether it's cashiers, whether it's accountancy services, if the demand increases, yeah, sure, you can scale up your company, you can continue to hire. That's going to be unlikely because of all these other jobs that are going to get wiped. If anything, we're going to have an economic recession or crash, at least in the near term. So that means that companies will probably squeeze and start to hire less people rather than more people. That does not mean you're necessarily going to lose your job. If you've been in a job for 10, 15, 20 years, you probably won't lose that job. What it means is more subtle. There will not be the creation of new jobs at the bottom of the pyramid. That's particularly the case in things like lawyers. So if you're a solicitor, if you're a lawyer, if you work in legal services, at the bottom of the pyramid, you have your executives at the top, you've got the managers here, and at the bottom you have the lower level people. It's the lower level grunt work that AI is really, really good at. So what you'll see is a collapse of the bottom of the pyramid with less jobs being created. So AI won't take the jobs, it doesn't have to, it will just stop new jobs being created. And to make it worse, the jobs that are created using AI, every technological innovation led to new jobs being made, and it's always been fine. That argument collapses when you realize AI is the first technology in human history that can take the jobs it creates. Previously, we have had technologies that created new jobs and we needed humans to step into that role. Now, there's an option. The AI creates a new type of job, a new type of role. It can be filled by the human or it can be filled by an AI. So the main question was, which careers do you think are at risk? Every single one of them. There are going to be some that are more immune. Dog groomer, for example. It's physical, that helps you. It is non-algorithmic. Every dog is a different shape and size. Every haircut is slightly different. It is empathy requiring. It requires you to be able to calm down a dog and the owners of the dog. That keeps you secure. You're in a good position. However, If all the cashiers lose their jobs, if all the general office clerks lose their jobs, if these customer service representatives lose their jobs, if these network and computer systems administrators lose their jobs, there's suddenly a lot less money in the economy to pay for dog grooming services. I'm using dog groomers as an example. There will be less money circulating. Whatever your safe job was will no longer be safe when there is not sufficient surplus cash in the economy to pay for whatever it is you are providing. And then people say, oh, well, just become a plumber. The problem with that is if everyone rushes into becoming a plumber or an electrician, we have an oversupply. We don't necessarily have an increase in demand because the economy is probably going to be in a bad place. People won't necessarily have jobs, so there won't necessarily be a requisite increase in the demand for plumbing, the demand for electricians. We might see housing, like a decrease in housing stock being built. So there is no safe job. There is no safe position. This is why I bang on about this all the time. I say you have to start something yourself. You have to create and carve out your own space for what is coming.